Hey everyone, today we're going to give our early thoughts about our Norwegian Cruise Line Joy cruise. Come check it out. Hey everyone, Johnny from Bite Size Cruises. I am back fresh off the NCL Joy. I have my NCL Joy mug. There, the NCL. If you didn't see our daily vlogs or our Instagram, Norwegian has a really good partnership with Starbucks, and they now have the Been There mugs for each of the cruise ships. So you have all the little fun things about the Joy on here. So that's pretty cool. It's easier to bring back than the big ship models. Anyway, let's get into the Joy. So I'm going to give you a pretty good once over on this. My whole goal in doing this channel, to the detriment of us making any money off of it, is that we're going to be very honest and not salacious in any way. I'm not going to put a big thing up that says terrible cruise. I know clickbaity titles work. I talk about this all the time. I'm sick of talking about it. It's just not my thing. Our goal here is to be honest and not controversial. If I don't have a good time on something, I will tell you I didn't have a good time at something. If something was just okay, I'll tell you it was just okay. If it was great, I'm going to tell you it's great. But what I'm never going to do is say, you won't believe what happened on this cruise. And then you come in and it was just like, I stubbed my toe. So let's get into it. Before we went on the Joy, I watched a lot of videos around the web about the Joy. A lot of people don't like the Joy. I saw Griffin Alyssa did a whole thing of it's like NCL's worst rated cruise ship. So, but it didn't look like they had a terrible time. They had a couple little hiccups or things here and there, but it didn't look like they had an awful cruise. So I'll start with embarkation. I generally have a great dislike for embarking from New York City. I sit in the terminal for hours. I don't understand. They tell you to get there at 9:30. You get there at 9:30. Nobody gets on the ship until noon. I don't know why it takes 2 hours to process 3,000 or 4,000 people when Royal Caribbean does 6,000 something for Oasis in Bayonne it's like smooth as anything. However, here's the thing. Did the early check-in time. We did 9:30. We got the 9:30 check-in time. We wound up not leaving the hotel till 9:30. Very rare for me. I'm usually super on time or early for everything, but we went and got some food with Meg and her husband, and then Jared had to leave. So Meg and I started walking down at 9:30, and we got to the port at around quarter of. We were literally right up the street. If you watched our pre-cruise vlog, we stayed at Ink 48, which is a great hotel right up the street from the terminal. Almost don't want to tell everybody that. But it's great. It's reasonable. We stayed in a suite. It was $400. We had, obviously 2 king-size beds, which is great because it was Meg, myself, and her husband. So we walked down to the terminal, and then we got there about 9:45, and we checked in. I am platinum with Norwegian. I think platinum. Yeah, they used to have platinum plus and everything. I think I'm just platinum. I'm close to sapphire. So I get priority embarkation, which who knows what that means. So we had a nice little waiting area. Meg got to sit with me because I had that platinum. We checked the X-ray check-in was very smooth. There was about a few hundred people in front of us checking in. People always, at every port, people just get there whenever they want. We checked in. Everything was smooth. The smoothest check-in ever for Norwegian. Everything went fine. They just asked a couple questions, took your picture, gave you your card, go sit down. We went to sit down at 11:10, something like that. So about an hour we sat there, and they announced the ship was ready and they were going to start embarkation process. The people with special needs got on. And then literally, I'll say 5 minutes after that, they announced diamond, sapphire, whatever, platinum people to get on. So we got up, we got on, we were on very early, and immediately we noticed that the ship seemed crowded. It seemed smaller. I think in one of my vlogs, I said that it was smaller than Escape, which it's not, apparently. I asked the captain, I went to the captain's briefing, and he said it's kind of an illusion based on a couple different things, which we'll get into. So it felt tight. Everything felt smushed. It's a different configuration than the other Breakaway Plus class ships, which we talked about last week. But everything felt tight and it felt really crowded almost immediately. The rooms, they said the rooms would not be ready until 3:30. So we took our carry-on down and checked it at a little spot right above our room, which was really nice. They were offering right by Q Smokehouse. So if you're going on Joy and you have some carry-on, you don't want to carry it around, you could check it there since the rooms are generally, they said, not ready until 3:30 on the Joy. I don't know why. It just is what it is. I think now that they're only doing one service a day, they have less room stewards. It takes longer. My thoughts. So we wandered around and checked everything out on the ship. We got some food. We tried to go to the Garden Cafe, which is the buffet, and we got something small there. We just, dilly-dallied around and looked around the ship and went up on the pool deck, those type of things. Got the lay of the land. The configurations was weird to me because it was very different than Escape or Bliss, which I've been on. And it's because it was built for the Asian market. So there was a lot of retrofitting when it came back to the US. All good. So embarkation, smooth. The ship was crowded immediately. First night we went to the magic show. Let's not talk about that. Everybody knows my thoughts on the magic show. I tried. And then let's just get into everything else. My overall feeling and thought process, like just getting off the ship now, debarkation was the most coordinated, the best run disembarkation I've ever seen, which is crazy, right? I was on Celebrity in May, at the end of May, beginning of June, and it was literally walk-off was chaos. They had everybody wrapped around the whole deck. Great idea. There were no barriers. So as soon as they opened the door, everybody collapsed because there was like a big lounge in the middle. So who's going to walk around when you don't have to? So everybody just cut across the middle and it was pure chaos. On NCL, they did a very good job this time. And this embarkation and disembarkation are things I criticize NCL for every time. And both were excellent. They had ropes up. You followed the line. Wherever you got in line, it wound around the whole seventh deck. And then you got off the ship. Super smooth. We were out and we were at Penn Station in New York by 8:30 in the morning. All good. Got home. Everything was great. So my initial thoughts about the cruise were that I had a great time. The itinerary was great. We were originally on this cruise. God, I'm having a hard time talking. Originally, we were supposed to stop in Norfolk, Virginia, and then go to Bermuda for 3 days and come back. Norfolk got canceled for whatever reason, so that was a long time ago. So we went to Bermuda for 3 days. We had a great time. That breaking up the monotony of how crowded the ship was, I think, was very helpful. Because on those 3 days, the ship was more empty. People were out doing excursions. Things weren't as crowded. It was a better experience. The ship, to me, was too crowded. I know everybody's trying to get their money back. I know Norwegian originally said they were not going to go back to 100% capacity. Oh, they did. And there was probably, I think they said 1,200 people under 18. It's like one of the last weeks before school goes back in. So that was an aggressive amount of teens on the ship. I did notice that. I knew it. I called this right in the beginning. The observation lounge is like the biggest hangout for teens at night because it's dark in there and they can just hang out with their friends and it's like quieter. So I kind of saw that coming. It wasn't disruptive. There was music up there and all. They didn't really bother anything. They were fine. Most of the kids were pretty well behaved. But it's just a ton of kids. It's a ton of people. There was 4,700 people on the sailing. And you felt every bit of it. So I also noticed, and I know Matt Hotchberg from Royal Caribbean Blog talks about this a lot now, excursions are very much full now, and specialty dining for whatever reason. It's very weird to me, and I can't figure it out. I don't know if people just have more money right now, but cruising's more expensive, so I don't get it. I remember in 2018, 2019, leading up to the pandemic, specialty dining, I got my dining packages. I've always done specialty dining. Everyone knows how I feel about buffets. Food's great. People, not so much. I know people are going to criticize me for that, which I don't care, but I'll put a caveat on it. People touching things and not watching their children touch things at the buffet is what makes it awful. And it's just super crowded, right? It's where everybody goes. So I prefer to do specialty dining. Always have since, I don't know, for the last 15 years. So 18, 19, it was very easy. You made reservations when you got on the ship, and it was very smooth. And generally, if I was at La Bistro or Cagney's or whatever on Royal Chops or Azumi, you would see like 5 or 6 other couples at any given time, but it was never packed. We went to teppanyaki night 1. It's the biggest teppanyaki I've ever seen. There's like 10 hibachi tables. All of them were packed at 9 o'clock at night. Unreal. Luckily, when we got on the ship, and this is my tip for everybody, we made some reservations ahead of time for dinner. We had a 3-night dining package with our free at sea, and then I get an extra 2 for being platinum, but you can't make those reservations until you get on the ship. So as soon as we walked on the ship, we walked right up to the kiosk and made dining reservations. So we were good for the week. But most of the specialty dining was packed for the week, with the exception of Food Republic and Cute Texas Smokehouse, which were both great. So I'll do a whole dining review. Obviously, we'll do port reviews. We'll do entertainment reviews. Overall, I had a great time. It was a great cruise. The weather was wonderful. The sailing was wonderful. No rocking, no craziness of the weather, no seasickness. Everything was great with the exception of it being oppressively crowded, which it's just where we're at right now. So I don't let it get to me. It is what it is. I try to avoid big spots where it's super crowded, like Taste and Savor, the 2 restaurants, the free restaurants, complimentary included with your fare. Restaurants, I tried to avoid those places in the morning and the evening because you couldn't even walk down those hallways. It was so crowded. And then just getting to shows early. I found that if we got to the shows 30 minutes ahead of time, you were totally fine. If you got there 5 or 10 minutes ahead of time, you were in trouble. And it was a struggle to try to find your seats. And 10 minutes at a time, they start letting the standby people in, so you might miss your show. Another tip, get to your shows on time. My other big tip is if you're interested in specialty dining, a lot of them are open for lunch sometimes, so just check with staff. We went to Food Republic for lunch, and we had a great lunch there. It is expensive if you do a la carte. It was like $60 for lunch, which I think is a little too much, but we enjoyed it. And we got a few things. We got a roll and a few other small plates, which is, again, too much money, but it was good. All in all, great cruise. Entertainment was solid. The food was great. Again, I have no complaints. We ate at every single complimentary and specialty dining restaurant. We will go through them all in our dining review in a few days. But I just wanted to give a quick rundown of how everything went at the end of this vlog series, just so everybody knows. I would not choose to go on Joy again based on the configuration, based on how tight it was, and based on the fact that they're adding 40 more balconies, which is 80 more people on the ship. Unless I specifically was going to an itinerary that looked amazing, or if I was in the Haven, because I think that would have broken up the tightness a little. Or if you have now you can get a thermal suite pass after January, I think that would have helped a lot because that would have given you a break from the crowds. It's just not my favorite of all the Norwegian ships. I love Escape. We're going back on Escape in October. I love the entertainment on Escape. We're going on Bliss next year to Alaska. I love Bliss. So if I'm picking that class of ship, I would pick Escape or Bliss over Joy based on configuration and where things are and how crowded, just some different things. Not that Escape's not going to be crowded when we go on it either. So we'll see when that happens. Those are my initial thoughts. We'll get into it on each of the reviews. Let me know what you think. Have you been on Joy lately? Let me know. I'd love to hear everyone else's feedback. Thanks so much, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Bye.